Okay, so you have mankind coming out of the forest, out of the wild. If you think about this, the way that this would have to go is that they would come out of there like wizards, like knowing secrets about the earth that we could never imagine. This is just what I think. But I think that they would know everything. They would know about this. This is probably where all that early knowledge comes from. It's from these people I'm talking about, going back all the way to the birth of humanity. No, and that doesn't make any sense either, because you would assume that, because I assume, and this is just my opinion, that as long as there have been mountains, as long as there have been birds and any other wildlife, and I'm going completely, I'm not talking about evolution. I'm not talking about any of that stuff, the shape of the earth or any of that. Right now, I'm just brainstorming and kind of just opening the gates of what I think about this stuff. So if we start there, if we start about people living this close, that close to the earth, to the world that we live in, then I mean, they could probably have amazing abilities. Their eyesight probably would have been different from living in that kind of environment. They would be able to probably tell the weather, much like the animals can, perceiving it. And they most likely had a way of understanding. Because when you think about how things as simple as recipes and the use of medicine, these are impossible things that people can't figure out, without an inconceivable amount of time and passing knowledge down over and over and over again. But you wouldn't even conceive of this knowledge of plants and medicine unless you had been right next to it. And then if you think about the intelligence level it would take to reach this scale, and this is just what I think. And I mean, I'm not going to say that again because I keep saying it, but they probably could, understand, they would understand the body language and the migration, the migratory cycles of all the animals without having um they there would be no need yet I'm talking that I think that there was no technology. This was just like a knowledge of, think more like along the lines of the druids. And I'm not talking about the druids right now. That's not what I'm talking about. Or, you know, warlocks or wizards or anything like that. I'm just saying, if you think about that, all of humanity would have been aware of this, not just a few, not just a handful of people, all of them. All the people who were living in this environment, who had been generation by generation by generation, not to mention that there's something we could conceive of, that the possibility that they lived longer lives too. And a lot of people think that this knowledge came from them interacting with advanced beings like extraterrestrials, fallen angels, things like that. Or even if you want to go into the fairy realm and talk about that, people think that they learned it from them. I think that they learned it by experiencing and being in it and adapting. Not even adapting, just that was the natural state. That must have been the natural state. And that we are not necessarily de evolving, but that we have drifted out of the necessity, or rather, we haven't. I mean, still to this day, we use all of those same skills brought down to us, or rather over to us, or however you want to put it, from these ancestors, from our all of our ancestors that we all are from. There is not a human being alive. I'm fixing to run out of time. There is not a human being alive who isn't from it. Just, we have to consider that all the way back to the beginning. All of us, all the way back to the beginning of time within us.